Genes are passed down from parents to offspring, often determining traits like hair color, personality, and even eye color. My genes are blue.
Sydney Sweeney has her genes.
Sydney Sweeney has suddenly found herself caught in the middle of a storm of controversy after the release of her brand new ad campaign with American Eagle, and the backlash is wild.
This whole ad relies on the double entendre of jeans and jeans. It's more than a cheeky wordplay, it's a dog whistle. We are seeing the rise of fascism in America. And with this comes this rise of eugenics. To put it simply, eugenics is the belief that some people have better genes than others. I'll let you guess what people fall into which categories. In eugenicist thinking, society encourages certain people to reproduce while discouraging others, and in some cases, even preventing others through forced sterilization. In this ad, by saying my body's composition is determined by my genes, Sydney Sweeney has great genes, it's saying that Sydney Sweeney has a great body and therefore great genes, and therefore is a product of genetic superiority.
Who would have thought a simple denim campaign could spark so much outrage? But this isn't just about genes. This whole situation has opened up a much bigger conversation about where Sydney's career is heading and whether she was making the right moves or setting herself up for long-term criticism.
Genes are passed down from parents to offspring, often determining traits like hair color, personality, and even eye color. My genes are blue.
The reaction has been messy, to say the least. When the first whispers came out that Sydney had partnered with American Eagle, most people didn't think too much of it. After all, she's been stacking sponsorship deals left and right, jumping from one brand collaboration to another. And honestly, American Eagle doesn't exactly scream scandal. It usually gives off those early 2010s vibes, back-to-school spreads, and teen magazine features. On the surface, it seemed harmless, and even expected for a star like Sydney. But when the campaign actually dropped, it was not at all what people imagined. It went instantly viral, sparking an avalanche of debates online about the tone, the direction, and the message behind it. Instead of giving lighthearted J14 nostalgia, it stirred up flashbacks to one of the most controversial fashion ads of all time, Brooke Shields' Calvin Klein campaign from 1980. That ad was infamous because Brooke was just 15 years old when she delivered the now legendary but highly criticized line, "You want to know what comes between me and my Calvins? Nothing." At the time, it was slammed for being provocative and inappropriate, and now critics are drawing parallels, saying American Eagle might have crossed a line in a similar way with Sydney's campaign. The comparisons alone have fueled the fire, making people question not just American Eagle's marketing choices, but also Sydney C's judgment in aligning herself with campaigns that flirt with controversy, instead of sticking to safer, career-building opportunities. Back in the day, Calvin Klein's infamous Brooke Shields campaign blew up with outrage, and for good reason. The ad was slammed for what many saw as the blatant sexualization of a teenage girl, and the backlash was so strong it's still talked about today. Fast forward decades later, in 2021, Brooke herself reflected on that moment in an interview, and her comments were surprising. She told Vogue that at the time she didn't even understand the tagline's meaning. Shields admitted, "I was naive. I didn't think anything of it. I didn't think it had to do with underwear. I didn't think it was sexual in nature. I would say it about my sister. Nobody can come between me and my sister." She explained that she was genuinely shocked when the public tore into her, assuming she knew the commercial's intentions. "I think the assumption is that I was much more savvy than I ever really was," she confessed. That historic controversy is exactly why so many people are raising eyebrows at Sydney Sweeney's American Eagle campaign today. Even though Sydney is very much an adult, critics argue that the brand is purposely echoing that same shock factor energy Calvin Klein thrived on decades ago. The visual style, the tone, the way the ad was presented. It all felt eerily familiar to people who remembered the Brooke Shields scandal. Commenters didn't hold back, blasting American Eagle for what they saw as a calculated attempt to cash in on nostalgia, while dragging up an ad that had originally been labeled exploitative. And here's where the debate gets intense. While nobody is accusing Sydney of being underage, the criticism is aimed squarely at American Eagle for co-signing a marketing approach that mirrors one of the most controversial fashion moments in history. Many believe that by leaning into that same energy, they've reignited a decades-old controversy that should have stayed buried. Suddenly, this isn't just about jeans anymore. It's about whether brands are willing to flirt with scandal at the expense of their star ambassadors' reputations. As soon as the campaign dropped, TikTok lit up with comparisons between Sydney's ad and the infamous Brooke Shields' Calvin Klein spot. Side-by-side edits were popping up everywhere, and viewers were quick to point out the similarities. The comments were relentless, with people writing things like, "This is literally an exact copy of that Brooke Shields commercial. Poor Brooke. Now Sydney is glorifying it." Others went even harder, saying, "Only difference is Sydney is an adult making questionable brand deals, and Brooke was a child who was exploited in more ways than you can count." That kind of commentary only made the backlash louder, dragging Sydney into a conversation she probably didn't expect when she signed on to promote a pair of jeans. But the outrage didn't stop at the over-sexualization accusations. Viewers also zeroed in on another part of the ad where Sydney makes a comment about how genes are determined and passed down by your parents, and her genes are blue. Clearly, it was supposed to be a cheeky double entendre, blue jeans versus blue eyes, but many people saw something much darker. Critics called it a loaded statement, suggesting that American Eagle was subtly pushing a message about who has the best genes, and the implications did not sit well. The reaction online was fierce. One comment read, "As a Latino, seeing the ad was weird. I guess American Eagle is for white people. It instantly made me feel excluded." Another blasted the campaign as so wrong, it promotes white supremacy. For a brand trying to appeal to Gen Z, being accused of elitism and racial exclusion is basically the worst kind of PR nightmare. Yet the division was clear. While many slammed the campaign, others came to Sydney's defense. One person shot back at the criticism saying, "I saw people downplaying it, saying the woke are reaching and jealous because she's pretty. And I thought, now that's reaching. They're literally upholding the insinuation." This tug of war in the comments shows just how polarizing the campaign really is. What was meant to be a playful, trendy ad has now blown up into a heated debate about exploitation, beauty standards, and coded messaging that goes way beyond denim. Instead of selling jeans, American Eagle and Sydney Sweeney have found themselves selling controversy, and it's spreading faster than the ad itself. The backlash didn't stop at the blue jeans controversy either. Another wave of criticism hit Sydney when people accused her of catering to the male gaze and leaning too heavily on over-sexualization in her career moves. Comments were rolling in like, "Doesn't she get tired of being sexualized? Literally, why are they catering a women's jean commercial to a lustful male audience?" The whole point of the ad was supposed to be playful fashion, but instead, many viewers felt it looked like a denim thirst trap. Even Doja Cat got in on the conversation, posting a TikTok poking fun at the ad, which only added fuel to the fire. Once celebrities start clowning you, it's clear the controversy has legs. But not everyone agreed with the outrage. Some fans pushed back, claiming people were simply reading too much into it. They didn't see a hidden agenda in the ad and argued that critics were projecting issues that weren't there. This back and forth created a divide online, with some calling Sydney out and others defending her as just another actress trying to make her bag in a tough industry. Still, one thing that kept popping up again and again wasn't just the ad itself. It was the fact that Sydney seems to be saying yes to almost every sponsorship deal thrown her way. At first, it didn't raise too many eyebrows when she became a global ambassador for Laneige. But then came her unexpected collab with Baskin-Robbins, where she released a rainbow sherbet lip mask and an ice cream flavor to go with it. Fans thought the idea was cute at first, but it started to feel like overkill when you added it to her growing list of brand partnerships. Now she's linked with Soul by Jergens, Miu Miu, Fendi, Guess, Armani, Tory Burch, and even Ford. The list keeps growing, and with each new collaboration, more fans are starting to question if she's oversaturating her own image. The top comment under her Baskin-Robbins post pretty much summed up the mood. She is just taking every deal they throw at her at this point. For an actress who's also trying to build credibility in Hollywood, critics are saying this non-stop string of endorsements is making her look less like an artist and more like a walking billboard. The list of Sydney Sweeney's brand deals really does go on and on. Samsung, Carré, and the partnerships just keep stacking. Out of everything, the Ford collaboration probably made the most sense, since Sydney has a genuine passion for cars. She actually restores vintage cars as a hobby, so that deal at least connected to something authentic in her life. But the rest? Fans are starting to say it's giving Michaela, as in random, scattered, and bordering on desperate. The constant string of brand deals makes it feel like she's cheapening her own name by jumping into every sponsorship that crosses her desk. Her Instagram right now looks more like a catalog than a celebrity's feed. Nearly every single post is a sponsored one, and people are noticing. That's unusual for an A-list actress, especially one who's been landing huge roles in shows and movies. Traditionally, Hollywood stars are selective with their partnerships because oversaturation dilutes their image. But Sydney's endless endorsements are dragging her closer to influencer territory, and we all know how much celebrities hate being compared to everyday influencers. For many fans, it is like watching her trade the mystique of being a rising Hollywood star for the grind of constant sponsored content. Reddit threads have been blowing up about this exact issue, with people questioning whether she's saying yes to every brand out of necessity or just greed. One top comment even joked, "She's taking brand deals like she has some sort of gambling debt," which quickly went viral across forums. Another person said, "I know Sydney is an actress, but I don't really understand her brand. There doesn't seem to be a clear, cohesive approach to how she's marketed." And honestly, that critique hit hard because it's true. Her sponsorships feel random, with no real strategy. Fans are now convinced her management is chasing the short-term bag without thinking about the long-term damage to her image. Yes, she's clearly raking in a ton of money, but being everywhere all at once in campaigns that don't make sense together is starting to hurt her credibility more than it helps. That point became even louder after her eyebrow-raising collab with Dr. Squatch soap. Sydney released a bar of soap that allegedly contained her bathwater, and the internet exploded with reactions. Critics called it bizarre, unnecessary, and yet another example of her leaning into over-sexualization as a marketing tactic. For many women, it felt like a step backwards, reinforcing tired stereotypes rather than breaking them. And while the soap did sell out, proving there is definitely a market for it, the bigger question is, who exactly is that market? Is this the audience Sydney Sweeney really wants to build her brand around? Because while shock factor sales might make headlines now, the image she's creating for herself could follow her long after the hype dies down. Fans are starting to wonder whether these kinds of stunts are building her up, or slowly tearing down the credibility she's worked so hard for in Hollywood. At this point, Sydney's brand feels scattered, and that's exactly what people keep pointing out. One viral comment even said her PR team should take notes from Zendaya, who carefully curates her image and doesn't flood her fans with constant ads. That strategy has made Zendaya one of the most respected and exciting actresses in the industry. When she does attach herself to a project or a brand, it feels special. With Sydney, though, people are starting to complain that she's everywhere all the time, and instead of building anticipation, it's creating fatigue. The concern is that Sydney is sliding into influencer territory, someone trying to convince the public to buy every product under the sun. And while that may boost her bank account, it could hurt her long-term acting credibility. Hollywood is unforgiving, and once your name gets tied more to brand deals than powerful roles, it can be hard to shake off that reputation. To be fair, Sydney herself has spoken on why she might be hustling this way. Back in 2022, she opened up about her financial struggles, saying that if she wanted to take just 6 months off, she didn't have the savings to support herself. She revealed, "They don't pay actors like they used to," and that comment sparked a heated industry-wide discussion about the changing economics of Hollywood. Maybe all these endorsements are her way of securing financial stability, so that one day she can take a break without worrying about bills piling up. But then comes the bigger question, at what cost? Is the money worth cheapening her brand, facing endless backlash, and possibly alienating the same fan base that helped her rise to fame? Because so far, Sydney shows no signs of slowing down. The ads keep rolling out, and the criticism keeps getting louder. Only time will tell if this non-stop sponsorship spree will solidify her place as a household name or chip away at the Hollywood credibility she's worked so hard to build. So now, I'm turning it to you. What do you think about Sydney Sweeney's brand strategy? Is she being smart, stacking her money while she can, or is she risking her career by overexposing herself with every sponsorship under the sun? Drop your thoughts in the comments because this debate isn't going away anytime soon. And as always, I'll keep you posted on the latest updates in this ongoing drama. Until then, stay tuned because the celebrity world never stops spinning.